We're happy and we're singing and we're colored. Give me a high five.
What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, here with my brother from another big game, James. And it is another episode of Best of Enemies, man. It's the holiday season. It's the season of giving. We were both given L's this past week. The Eagles on a bit of a tear with these losses. We'll get into all of that. But James, how you been, brother? How you doing?
First of all, Merry Christmas to everybody. We got our, Christmas is coming up. So first of all, Merry Christmas to everybody on both sides. Hope y'all have a very Merry Christmas. Hope you got everything you want. Hope it's a season of giving. I actually don't like Christmas all like that, but hey, I'm in the holiday season, kind of grinchy because for the loss, but it is what it is.
Sure. If you Grinch for one loss, how you think I'm feeling after like
I know.
It feels like the Eagles will never get it together, but it is what it is. Hopefully this week is when we get it back together. We go against Tommy Cutlet or whatever the hell his last name is. It's going to be interesting. All seriousness, it sucks and it's doom and gloom sometimes on both fan bases after a loss. Both fan bases have those certain sectors of fans that everything's now over because we lost, right? But if we really look at it, this is kind of what you want. At the end of the year, you want the two best teams, which both of us said were the Eagles and the Cowboys, to be in a spot that they can control their own destiny. So now every game matters. Every game, we were looking at this season and like, damn, the Eagles might be resting their players by week 15, week 16. That's not going to happen. So every game matters. It's good for the NFL, I guess. Terrible for us fans. But yeah, the holiday season, it's a beautiful time. I do want to start this off with some good news, even though we went on that tear. Me and James, obviously this show started off as like a draft show. That's what we kind of started doing this as, and then we took it into the season. But we're both going to be at the Senior Bowl this year, so both credentialed, which is awesome. So we're going to be out there on the field. So soon enough, we'll talk in the background, and we'll figure out when we want to actually start up draft talk and everything. But soon enough, we will be getting into draft talk. So we will be out there probably doing shows out there live. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoy our content. But I want to start with the Eagles because I always start asking you questions about your Cowboys, and we'll get to that. But I want to start with the Eagles because and I went live on my own, did my own punishment. I was so sad.
I did too.
I was so mad. But so, you go on a game that you felt like we should win. At the end of the day, into that game, every play, it was like we're playing ugly. It is what it is, but you got Drew Lock. We're holding down their offense. And then you just get that dagger in the back of a drive on that last drive where Drew Lock just becomes Tom Brady out of nowhere and just demolishes our defense. I mean, there's really no other way of saying it. A lot of question marks as far as coaching. There's a lot of question marks as far as player personnel in some cases. But right now, what I really want to say is like, I hate our media. I truly do hate our media. And I'm sure you've seen some of the quotes and some of the tweets, about these guys talking about, Jalen Hurts isn't a leader. Jalen Hurts isn't this now and that's all media driven. I want to tell you, man to man, everybody in the comments, y'all hear it from me. And if I'm wrong, then you guys can accost me for being wrong. There is not one person in that locker room, in that organization, that is doubting Jalen Hurts' leadership ability because he's not rah-rah at press conferences, because he's not doing backflips, because he's not crying when he loses. That's not who he is. So I just hate the Philadelphia media because I feel like they're trying to spin this into another Carson Wentz situation, which Carson Wentz was a totally different situation. We were a losing team. We were constantly losing with Carson Wentz, losing games we shouldn't have lost. And these last couple of weeks, we shouldn't have lost some of these games, but these were good teams. These were good teams, and we're a good team. We're 10-1 before going into that, 3-game stretch. And every team that we played in that 3-game stretch were good teams. So I'm just frustrated and I'm annoyed with the media. And that's why I've kind of taken a back seat to kind of even responding to some of this stuff. Because it's like, we're just going to continue in Philly, especially. We're just going to continuously give stuff like this life, and it's going to continuously ruin our teams. So it frustrates me with that. You know, you look at the whole AJ Brown situation. It's like our media wants our players to be bad people. They want our team, and it goes back to, I even said this to Rome. Shout out to Rome if he's in the chat. I said this to Rome. When people don't give our media stories, and I'm sure it's kind of like that in Dallas a little bit, or other, other medias, when they don't give them stories, they begin to lie. They begin to fabricate stuff. They begin to throw stuff out there because they know that our fan base, when we're upset, will cling on to stuff like that, which is, to me, it's idiotic. So I just want to say that because I know people are going to ask about it. People are going to bring it up. I've already gotten mentioned on Twitter about it and stuff. I don't think none of that is real. I talked to some people that work for the Eagles. I talked to some people that cover the Eagles. Nobody's ever given me the inclination of that. So I think it's perfect timing to, throw some clickbait out there. So I wanted to get that out because I am upset about the losses, but I'm not that upset that I think that this whole team is falling apart and stuff like that. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I had to get that off my chest. I feel better now. That was like my real thing that I was holding. I was like, I need to say this as soon as we start. But let's talk about the losses. We'll start with you guys because it was one, and then I'll go on to our 3-game losing streak and what we got to change. But you guys go out there, let the Bills basically just run away with the game, literally and figuratively. What's the thought? What's the thought process behind it? How are you guys feeling after that loss? And what are you going to do against Miami to kind of ensure that doesn't happen again?
Well, they got to figure things out. It's been hot and heavy. The debate has been all week on Cowboys media, Cowboys content creators, people in Dallas media about Micah Parsons playing linebacker because the situation was, everybody saw James Cook. He ran wild on Dallas's defense. I had made a post November 22nd. Then I followed it up on, in December. But I made a post on just November 22nd on my Twitter. And I said, look, Barry Church used to play with the Cowboys. He was on our show. He's a real cool guy. He had been highlighting, like, look, I don't like our linebackers being as small as they are. A good team is going to figure that out and be able to attack that. And I said, look, I have been saying that even before then. I've been saying it since the Cardinals game, that as much as Marquise Bell's been playing well, he's been playing out of his mind. He's still a safety converted to a linebacker, 205 pounds. Damone Clark is more on the athletic side, more a finesse type linebacker, more than a physical type linebacker. You already seen LVE is out. We cut Devin Harper. So the cover was already bare. We picked up Rashaan Evans, but we haven't been able to see him consistently in games. And that's what happened with Buffalo. They came in there. I think Dallas went away from the run a little bit too early. You saw the weather. You saw the inclements. Buffalo, Josh Allen threw 15 times. So that should tell you right there, they didn't have no plan to throw the ball. And if they already knew the weather elements, and once they started getting successful, getting to that second level, guys weren't setting the edge, missed tackles. I think we had like 14 missed tackles in that game. I just, I felt like that was going to happen. I said all week I was feeling funny about that Buffalo game. 5-game win streak. Everybody was pumping up Dallas. That couldn't do anything wrong. I just felt like all that hype, eventually some of this stuff going to come crashing down. And I just felt like Buffalo was the perfect storm because the weather, they're a good team. We can't sit there and say Buffalo's a bad team just because their record says 7-6. They had a good team on both sides of the ball. And they did what if teams stick with the run against the Dallas Cowboys, and this hasn't just been one game. This has been years and years where if teams stick with the run against the Dallas Cowboys, if teams decide to stay physical because we're undersized now, okay, because you had Jonathan Hankins out. Mozzie has lost weight. We had documented that on the show this past week, that Mozzie is not 340 pounds right now. He has lost weight. So we're lighting the plants up the middle once again. So if you're light up front, and then your linebackers are small, well, it just makes sense for you to go ahead and keep on ground and pound, especially if you got the personnel to be able to do it. And so that's what happened. So that's where the talk came in about Micah Parsons. You're playing on the edge. They're running away from you, or they're sticking two people on you when they run right at you. Think about playing maybe some more off-ball linebackers so they can't get a beat on you and you can attack the line of scrimmage in different ways. So I'm not going to sit there and say I didn't know that was going to happen. I felt it was going to happen. Now, as far as Miami, I ain't going to lie, I am nervous about that game because of the speed element. I don't think we're the greatest matchup against them. I know offensively we can match them. We can score, we can throw on them, we can run on them, but this might be one of those shootouts. And the reason why I say I'm nervous because I don't know how this defense is going to react after that game against Buffalo, because this is a huge game for Dan Quinn. This is a huge game for the defense because we had pumped up this defense, vaunted defense. But right now, it's not looking elite. It looks good, but don't look elite. And they really have to prove something in this Miami game. Defensively, I think the offense can do its job, but defensively, they're going to have to show and prove because this is not the greatest matchup. I don't think we have the speed to really match up these guys. So it's really going to have to be Dan Quinn being in that lab, really being on his game, Mike McCarthy really being on his game, because as I told everybody before, that dude, Mike McDaniel, he likes to embarrass people. He likes to make an example of you. And you don't think you coming in Miami on Christmas Eve, Dallas Cowboys, he's not trying to throw up 70 on you guys. So come in there prepared, because if you don't buckle down, it's going to be a bad day in Miami.
Yeah, and I think every team in this league right now, especially, the top tier leagues, the bottom tier leagues, they got a bunch of things that are weak for them. But every team has a weakness. Every team in this league that is a top team, Cowboys, Eagles, the Niners, Dolphins, you can even put up there. Obviously, the Chiefs. Every team has had a bad spell throughout the season. At some point, they had, a tough stretch. So I think outside of the Cowboys, I don't think you guys have you lost more than one in a row?
We've only lost,
one and then win.
And that's why everybody's kind of looking at our game, because we haven't had a losing streak. We usually bounce right back after a loss, and we come right back and play good football. So I think that's what everybody's looking at from the Cowboys side, is that, we haven't had a losing streak, which is good for us. But you also got to look at, you got a fast team coming in. So you can't lean on, we haven't had back-to-back losses and, we bounce back. Yeah, you got to bounce back in a huge way because this is a big game. If you look at the standings, it's not a big game for the standings because this is an AFC team. So it's not going to really hurt you if you're talking about seeding in the NFC. But this, to me, is a psychological game. This is a psychological game because if you come in there and lay another egg like you just did in that Buffalo game, defensively, there's going to be a lot of talk, much like you have a lot of talk right now going in Philadelphia with a lot of doubt. There's going to be a lot of doubt, and there's going to be a lot of talk in Dallas if they get ran off the field again on this defensive side.
You got a super chat as well.
Shout out to Glenn Capers for the $5 Holly. Said, look at the all 22 film and spotted our flaw on the West Coast in our West Coast offense. Our running backs must get out of the patterns to give Dak options to catch in stride. That is true. But also, I just felt like Mike McCarthy kind of kept it close to the vest because of that weather. We didn't see a lot of motion that we've seen in a lot of games. It just looked like they were kind of like, well, we don't want to make a lot of mistakes, so let's kind of keep it close to the vest. They tried early. It was almost like they were trying for the big play. You're not going to get the big play in that type of weather and those type of elements. You got to chip away. You got to chip away. And that's why I felt like they went away from the running game a little bit too early because Tony Pollard was running hard in that game. He was running hard. It just kind of got away from them. And once they jumped on us early, I'm gonna keep it real. Once they jumped on us early, dog, in that Buffalo game, it just felt like we ain't coming back. You just know, your team and you know how your team plays. And once you saw that losing early, you're like, yeah, it's a wrap.
Yeah. I mean, I had the exact opposite feeling against Seattle. It made no sense to me. I was like, we've been here a million times, right? Like we've been here literally a million times. But at the end of the day, when you look at what the Eagles have done, when you look at these losses, it really mirrors what you were saying. And I'm not saying this to say like, see, we're better than you. I'm saying this to say that I've been saying this for a while. Utilize that run game. That run game could be so good in Philadelphia. You can get under center so much in Philadelphia. It just made zero sense. It makes zero sense what the Eagles are doing offensively. We are bottom of the NFL and motions. We're the bottom in the NFL of under center plays. We're top in the NFL of using the inside zone, which makes zero sense. Yeah, like a lot of the stuff that we're doing, it's like we're playing to walk down the field, but we don't want to walk down the field. Nick Sirianni said that he wants more explosive plays. He wants to shorten the lengths of drives. It was either Nick Sirianni or Brian Johnson. Either way, to me, it's like you're doing everything to make this game as tough as you possibly can. And it makes zero sense to me. It really does. But I think the Eagles are beating themselves. Don't get me wrong. We've lost to some good teams. Dallas, y'all won. 49ers, y'all won. It is what it is. Seahawks, y'all won. But we're beating ourselves in a lot of ways. I don't feel like we're totally utilizing our roster. We're playing afraid a lot. And we're asking Jalen Hurts to do a lot. So I'm not.
You don't think it's your defense though? Because
our defense has been bad. Yeah.
I mean, you talk about your offense, but right now y'all giving up almost 25 points a game.
I think that's connected to our offense, though, to be 100% honest with you, because like you said with the Buffalo Bills game, he only had to throw 15 times because they're running it. It's killing the time of clock, time of possession, being able to kind of give your defense a rest. All these, we just got a first down. Now let's go for a shot. And now our defense that was just on the field, has to go right back out on the field. And we know they struggle. You know that your defense struggles. So why would the thought ever be? And the defense, it's kind of like, I know that I don't like this. I know that this isn't good, but I thought this was good. I thought this was going to be the thing that held us on. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about the offense. It's like, I knew that the defense, after a couple weeks, were not good, right? We're just not good. We don't have the players. Even if we do have the players, they're not playing up to their potential. So we're just not good. I've lived with that, but now it's, how do we mask that? How do we do something that's going to allow us to kind of get past that, right? You're not, at the end of the day, it's hard to revamp, change totally your defense in the middle of the season. It just isn't going to happen. But you can now say, all right, offensively, we know we can play power football. Just run the ball, slow down our drives, try to utilize our offense as an extension of our defense, keeping that opposing offense off the field. That I will never, especially after these past 4 games, 3 games, I should say, I'll never say that our defense is great or they have the potential to be elite this year. I don't think so. But now as a coach, as a head coach, as an offensive coordinator, how do I help my defensive coordinator that I know they're getting stretched, bro? They're getting stretched. And the more that we put him out there, the more that we put our defense out there, the more we're going to look bad. We're just going to lose games. We can't continuously ask our offense to win it in the fourth quarter. It's just not sustainable. It's not. I know you've been saying that for a while, so that probably feels good to hear. But it's just not sustainable right now, especially against a better team. So it's frustrating, but I don't think that the world is falling down as much as other people do. I think that we're going into the playoffs. A lot of people are opting to take surgeries right now, which I would love to know your opinion on if it was the shoe on the other foot, because people are mad at me because I think that, I'm going to say it pretty blatantly, and maybe it's a little rude, but I think Darius Slay is kind of a punk for taking the surgery right before the game. It was a minor surgery. It was one of those things that a lot of even players were saying that that's something you do in the bye week, maybe the off season, something like that, that it didn't have to happen at that moment. So how do you feel about that? Because I do kind of want to know your opinion on that. If it was on the other side, does it feel like your players are kind of saying whatever, or is it a smart move to do before the playoffs, even though you're kind of on a skid? How would you feel if it was the other way around?
Let's say if it was like Trevin Diggs and he had something going on and he did surgery right before the game, I would feel some kind of way. I think I would, especially if it was, we need you right now. The defense is struggling. We need your presence out there. You're one of the leaders out there. You're one of the leaders on the defense. So I would definitely feel that. But also there's another side of the coin that he wants to get better for them playoffs, because he recognized y'all going to be in the playoffs. Y'all going to need me at full strength. The defense is struggling right now, but guess what? It's going to struggle even more if I don't get this surgery, and then we go in the playoffs and I'm not right, and we really get exposed. And then what happens is, if we get exposed, I didn't get the surgery, then it comes out, hey, my knee was bad. Then it snowballs. Oh, well, why don't you get surgery? Oh, you just making excuses right now. Oh, of course you hurt. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that, y'all know how y'all are in Philly media, so y'all gonna go ham on that fact. So I think he wanted to get it out the way, get that talk out the way, so he can be fully ready for the playoffs. So I see both sides of the spectrum in that aspect.
So no excuses is what I'm hearing. Hey, you know what I'm saying? If that boy goes out there and gets exposed in the playoffs, I will come for him, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
will come for
yeah.
him. Don't be
Because
upset.
everybody's gonna say you took the surgery and you still getting cooked
Yeah,
out there. Because right now, like I said, your defense is not good. Right now, y'all picked up Darius Leonard. We ain't heard he been MIA. We ain't heard from him since y'all picked him up. And I will agree with you in the aspect of if your defense is struggling, why are we keep on trying to attack, and then if we ain't converting, defense is coming right back on the field, and they're struggling, and they're really just going to get beat down even more. So I understand the slippery slope, especially when you have a good running game with Swift, and then you have Gainwell. But let's be honest, I don't think Jalen Hurts is all the way right. He's running. He had like 80 yards in that game, but I don't think he wants to run as much. I think he might be protecting some things. But as I said before, big dog, I told y'all, I said on Twitter, I said y'all was going to have a 49ers like skid. I said y'all were going to have a skid like that where y'all were going to, I said y'all cannot maintain, keep coming back. Y'all had 5 straight games where y'all were down 10 points. Y'all had to come back in those games. It takes more energy to come back in games than when you're starting out with the lead. It takes more energy because you have to, if they score on you, now you have to, in your head, you have to score. So there's more pressure. There's more things going on in your head. You have to score. So eventually that runs out. And I think it's ran out, and y'all going to have to figure out a way. But like I said, I don't know what y'all going to do about that defense, dog, because like I said, your back seven is not looking good at all.
at all. I mean, Matt Patricia obviously got the nod as a defensive play caller.
I wanted to ask you about that.
The way they are playing that is really weird. I will say this: hearing Matt Patricia talk for the first time that I think that he's been an Eagle. I could be wrong about that, but this is the first time I remember, at least, and obviously it's happened right now. But he does sound kind of like a different guy. Like, I got a couple friends out there, that cover the lines and stuff like that, and even they were saying they're like, he does not sound like he sounded when he was over here. So, maybe this was something that he needed, him and Slay kind of reconcile and stuff like that. I will say our defense for the better part of that game was not the problem. Our defense was actually doing what they had to do for once. They were making plays. Our young cornerbacks looked pretty good. I liked how they were utilizing our players. It wasn't as Sean Desai's defense was real choppy. And now seeing Matt Patricia kind of do something totally different, especially only on 1 week's, preparation, it was impressive. I was impressed with him. We're all going to remember that last drive, but that wasn't even on. That was on Patricia in the sense that you put James Bradberry in that situation. I will say that. But James Bradberry just got cooked. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know what it is, because James Bradberry never was the speedster, right? He was never the quick guy. He was the guy that just played good technical football, and that usually doesn't rust as quick as a guy that's, pure athletic. So I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe he's a little bit banged up. I really don't know. Maybe it is the defense. Maybe it is, just not having that safety help, because on that play he didn't have safety help. Even though he knew he didn't have safety help, he decided to be a little bit aggressive. Maybe it's the aggression. Maybe they're seeing that they're not getting the turnovers that they were a year ago, and they're trying to be a little bit extra aggressive. There's a lot of different things that could be at play right now with James Bradberry, but it all ends up in him not playing well. He's just not doing well. So
I think what you're saying on that aspect comes into play with Dallas as well, as the fact that I feel like when Dallas defense when offenses jump on our defense early, I feel like we start playing hero ball. We start trying to make big plays. We're getting antsy. We're like, you can just see the team trying to make plays instead of staying disciplined what they're supposed to do, staying in their sets, staying gap integrity, staying those type of things. I feel like the hero ball does come out in some aspects where guys are just trying to make plays, because as I said before, we are leading the league in penalties. We led the league in penalties in 2021. Now we're leading the league in penalties this year. And the biggest thing that I keep seeing is on the defensive side, defensive holding and defensive offsides. We have 29 penalties. We lead the league in that. Defensive offsides and defensive holding. And defensive offsides, we have 15 of those. That's not disciplined football. And we have to play disciplined football if we're going to win games. And I think that's the problem. They try to do too much instead of staying within the concept. But then I think Dan Quinn, he's a stunt master. He loves stunt. And when you see a team just running it down the throat, you can't stunt no more. That's stunting for pass rushing to get after the quarterback when you stunt, when you're trying to confuse those offensive linemen and their sets. when you're getting it run down your throat, you don't need to stunt. You need to get it like in a bare front, like a 5-3. You need to get those linemen down on the ground, and y'all need to play disciplined football and shoot them gaps and make those plays. And I think that's what happened.
Yeah, and shout out to Eastside Hero. He just sent me $10 on cash. I don't even know what it is. You can tell I'm getting old, bro. I don't even know what these apps are called anymore. But shout out to Eastside Hero for the $10 too. I guess it's still a super chat, right? But he wanted me to tell you, go Texans. He wanted me to tell you. So shout out to Eastside Hero for that, man. I appreciate that. That's funny. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think that if we took a little bit of Dan Quinn and incorporated it in ours, I think we would be a better defense. And I think you could say probably a little bit of the same, because we are pretty good when it comes to the run game. Not these last couple of days, but it is what it is. So I don't know. I don't know what the Eagles are going to do as far as going forward. I don't know if Matt Patricia is going to be the guy that just takes over the defense. Maybe they want him to be their defensive coordinator next year, and instead of losing him possibly because of everything that happened with the Jonathan Gannon situation, how we lost Vic Fangio, which I'm not too mad about right now. But maybe you look at that and say, let's just lock in our guy now, make sure nobody's going to try and, steal him from us. It's tough. It's tough being an Eagles fan, but I'm not all the way out. I'm not all the way out just yet, and maybe that's my, craziness. But I do think that this is a talented team. I think that they can make it work, especially offensively. Defensively, I said it. I don't know if there's really a fix right now, especially on this roster. Right now, we're down to, I think, Ben Summerlandvin. I forget how to say his last name, but a practice squad linebacker is going to be starting for us against the Giants. It's just like everything that can happen has happened over these past couple of weeks.
Now I want to ask you a question. Y'all play the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
Nah,
but they don't got Josh Dobbs, so I'm not too worried.
They got Kyler Murray. They got Kyler Murray. Now I'm already throwing this out there to y'all out there. That's my upset special. I ain't talking about them Giants, but I remember when Joe was like, you lost to the Cardinals. You lost to the Cardinals. You lost to the Cardinals. Be careful, because that's Gannon, who's playing his old team. Funny things happen when you play your old guy. You don't think he ain't going to get up, and especially when we heard all the noise, everybody saying it was his fault that the defense crumbled in the Super Bowl. Gannon sucks. Gannon was trash. You don't think this game ain't going to be personal for him, and you don't think that team wants to show out. So all I'm saying is you better circle that game. Don't come in there playing around with them Cardinals, because I feel like, going to have a vendetta, especially Gannon. And they don't have a great team, but that's an upset team. You feel me? Kyler Murray can play crazy in that game, just like Josh Dobbs did. Nobody was expecting that, but that happened. So I'm just saying, keep your eyes on it.
I said it before the season when we were doing our schedule predictions. I was like, I don't care what our record is, we better beat them. We better whoop they ass. So, hey, 3 weeks ago I would be like, you crazy, you're insane. Right now I don't even know, but I will again say these were 3 good teams. That's one thing I want to reiterate. And I know it sounds, excuses. No, it's the truth. It is what it is. These were 3 good teams. We're going against 3 bad teams. We should be able to handle these teams. So if we lose to the Giants, we'll start there. They better not lose to the Giants. Tommy DeVito, if he's going to be the one playing, we better get him. We better get him down. We better make sure that we dominate Tommy DeVito. And I do think that this defense will be able to do that. I think under Matt Patricia, we're going to play smarter, because we did play better against the Seahawks. Again, it was Drew Lock and everything, but we let people like Sam Howell go off on us. We let almost every quarterback that's played us go off on us. So I'm taking a dub on Drew Lock, excuse me. Even though he had that last drive, I do think that this defense is going to play smarter. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if we can figure it out. But it comes down to the offense for me. I know a lot of people are going to bring out that defense, but it comes down to the offense for me. So I want to ask you, since it is the holiday season and everything, I want to know what your wish list would be. If you could fix 3 things for the Cowboys, whether it be pick somebody up, there's guys like Sue out there. I know a lot of people are talking about him right now. If you could fix 3 things, what is your 3 item wish list for this holiday and going forward for the Cowboys?
number one, that run defense, even though we haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher, that's deceiving. Just like I told people before, our run defense is deceiving. When we're letting teams average under 100 yards, people are like, oh, we got a good run defense. Now it's just teams that haven't decided to stay with the run. But that would be my number one, to be able to be stout against the run. My number two thing, physicality. When teams just out physical us, it kind of pisses me off. It just seems like, man, y'all just gonna let them push you around like that. Like Buffalo was just pushing us around, San Francisco was pushing us around, Arizona pushing us around. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I don't like. I don't like when teams decide to really get physical with us, put the mindset to get physical with us. They push us around. I don't like that. That bothers me, because that can't be happening, especially with the talent that you have on your team. So run game, physicality, and right there, road woes. We're what, 3-4 on the road, and I get it. You're good at home, but there's no reason why you can't win on the road. It's a mentality. You have to go there. So this all kind of goes hand in hand: mentality, physicality, and run defense. That's all not only players, it's a mental thing. Y'all have to mentally lock in. So those are my biggest thing. We have to mentally lock in on defense, and can't decide teams, if they want to get physical with us, that they're going to push us around. We can't happen that. If you've seen teams start pushing around, somebody needs to get on that sideline and say, hey, this can't keep happening. We got to stop this, and we got to stop this bleed now. So from the top with Dan Quinn to the bottom with these guys, physicality, a mentality, and a stout run defense on the road, it all goes hand in hand if I'm asking for those three things. But the physical mentality, that's what we really need to do.
Yeah, and I see people in my chat a lot of say bench Bradbury, so I'm going to acknowledge it because I see everybody saying that. But it does kind of go with what I want to say. I want to see some of these younger guys get some burn. I do. I want to see what Kaylee Ringo can do. I want to see, even though I'll be 100%. He has made strides over this season, because in preseason, I was like, bro, get this guy off the field. He does not need to be playing yet. Right. But he has looked good. He looked good in his, limited snaps that he's played this year. So I'm down to see what happens. Eli Ricks, I'm all on board. I want to see Eli Ricks really get some reps, really go out there and play some ball. I think that he can be a big addition to this team in the future. Maybe not right now be the savior, but in the future be a starter for this team. And that does go with Bradbury, maybe either moving. I wouldn't mind seeing him move around, and not a slot guy, but I saw Sean Desai move him to linebacker once or twice and drop him into, coverage, into deep intermediate zones. I wouldn't mind that. Not deep intermediate, short intermediate zones. I wouldn't mind that, kind of playing a QB spy type, not a QB spy, but kind of like a middle read, middle spy type guy that can obviously give you a boost in coverage from your linebacker spot, but it also takes him off the island on the outside. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. I don't think that they'll ever do that, which is unfortunate. But the other wish list thing is, honestly, take stuff off of Jalen Hurts' plate and do that in the form of schematics. Brian Johnson, get some motions going. Let's get under center. Let's make people think. Because right now people are not even having to think against this defense. We saw it with Christian McCaffrey. They look at the formation and they're like, oh, this is exactly what's going to happen. And kudos to the Eagles, because it does work sometimes, but you can't do that. You just cannot do that. You have to keep guys guessing. You have to switch up your film. Our film right now, you could probably watch week 1, and it's probably what we did in week 13. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what you need. You need to go out there and change things up, give people different looks. I've heard people say, oh, the Eagles are just holding on until they get to the playoffs. And I've said that. I've said this a million times. That's the stupidest thing to do. So I need to see this offense take stuff off of Jalen's plate, because all we're doing right now, our play action is not working, because we're not actually utilizing the run game like we need to. And people are saying that it's Nick's offense. At the end of the day, this is the same offense that worked last year. So it's hard for me to really take that into account, to be 100% honest. It's the guys calling the plays, doing the same 4 or 5 plays over and over again. And the last thing is going to be kind of I mean, you guys could probably say this as well, but we need to get healthy. We Lane Johnson getting hurt last game. He obviously went right back in, which is a blessing, but we can't lose anybody. We definitely cannot lose anybody. Landon Dickerson got his surgery. So if this is what's going to happen, if everybody's going to go out there and get their surgery get together and do this and do that, then fine. It is what it is. But we need to be healthy come playoffs. If not, this is going to be a long playoffs for the Eagles, because it ain't no way you're going to go out there without your offensive line and really beat any team. So
that's your strength right there, is your offensive line. And I want to ask you something about Jalen. I mean, I'm not questioning his leadership at all, but I am asking about, that his play. And then specifically, I do want to talk about the relationship with A.J. Brown, because a lot of people were in the media talking about how, and I mean, I think this is valid. I just want to hear from your side that, they were, when that clip came out about, Trevin Diggs, what he said to Dak Prescott, people don't respect Dak and this and that. But I've seen quite a bit, AJ Brown on them sidelines animated, and I'm not saying he's a diva, anything like that, but it seems like when things don't go his way, he's one of the first people to blow up. And Hurts has already got 12 interceptions, got I don't know how many fumbles he has, but what about Hurts? Do you think he's regressed this year? And what about that dynamic with him and AJ Brown? Because it was all, unicorns and rainbows last year. Now there's rocky roads. We've seen a lot more of that back and forth, specifically with them. What's your thoughts on that?
Honestly, and again, because we've done this show for so long, how I was on the other side of the fence with Jalen Hurts. I can't. He has number-wise regressed. I can't blame it on him, though. I truly can't. Some of it is his fault. Some of it is dumb decisions, this and that. But we are not utilizing the full field. We're not putting anybody over the middle. We're not, so all he has is guys on the outside. So, of course, he's going to throw it to A.J. Brown. I'm not too worried about A.J. Brown as far as how he is. He's animated. Jalen Hurts isn't. People are different. I don't think that it's really hurting the team. I think that that's just the culture that they have, that they are okay just being animated. Nick Sirianni's animated. I just think that's the team. That's how they are. They're okay being themselves and kind of putting stuff out there. But as far as Jalen Hurts, I do think I don't think he's regressed, because it really comes down to how the plays are set up. That's really what it comes down to for me. If you give him a more diverse, give him RPOs over the middle, give him, an actual running game where you're giving him the ball under the center, where you're giving, other guys opportunities, you're putting people in space. Nobody's being put in space. Literally, nobody's being put in space. It's a bunch of one-on-ones on the outside if you're lucky. And outside of that, he has no other reads. You have your running back maybe, but it just, to me, it's just not a good offense. And I think that's what this is really the product of. So, yes, there's a million plays this year that wouldn't have happened last year. But when you look at last year's offense, while it may have been Nick Sirianni's offense, it was more diverse in how things were moving. People were moving around. We were under center. We were giving people other looks. So it's hard for me to really fault Jalen Hurts, because if you give him a competent offensive coordinator or a competent scheme, I think we've all seen what he can do. So, and I can even kind of put it on what happened with you guys and Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore was very predictable, and it hurt Dak Prescott. I think that's what we're seeing with Jalen Hurts right now. So it's hard to say that he's regressing. He's still only 25 years old. I think that he'll get better, but he needs a better offense. He needs more options. There's not really any options. It's like if Jalen Hurts, if AJ Brown's not, free on the outside, if you don't want to just throw it to him and hope, then run the ball yourself. If not, then there's really not much we do. Bubble screens.
Do you think that's indicative on Jalen Hurts, though? Because we're hearing the noise out there that he's more of a one read guy. And if, let's say, the pass pattern goes to AJ Brown and the read is gone, do you feel like he leaves that pocket a little too early? Do you think he's not scanning the field properly and he's not looking for other people as much because, the field, he's not seeing the field fully as well?
I don't think that he's it's an indictment on him. I don't, because we saw what happened last year. We've seen games
That was
where
last year,
he's
though.
taken over. Yeah,
I'm
no,
talking
yeah.
about. I'm talking
Even
about
this
this
year,
year.
we've seen games where he's taken over and been a very good, very damn near elite passer with the football. I can go through film and find, him getting to his second, third read on occasion. I won't say that it happens every single play. Is he the best, most cerebral quarterback in the pocket? I wouldn't say so. But this year, he has definitely gotten better, in my opinion, and statistically as an in the pocket passer. He's gotten worse outside of the pocket, which is kind of weird. But so I don't think that it's an indictment on him. I truly do. And I know people are going to be like, it's a broken record. Excuses. But I truly do think that it's on the lack of creativity from this offense. Like, yeah, I promise you, if I said, in the chat, give me the 5 plays we run, and everybody would say the same 5 plays. We run the same 5 or 6 plays. It just doesn't make sense. And there's drives where you see what we could be too, and that's what's most frustrating, because there's drives where we're like, all right, let's give it to Swift a couple times. All right, now Jalen, now hit him with a play action and you got a wide open guy. All right, now we got this going. Now move this guy and you got a wide open guy. And then they go right back to what they do before and do a bubble screen with Devontae Smith blocking. It just doesn't make sense. Stuff doesn't work and they continuously go back to it. Kenny Gainwell in the red zone, it just does not make sense. It just doesn't make sense right now. And I'll answer that question. I saw a chat say that, what does Jalen do wrong? Right now, to me, he's not being loud enough. I need him to be like, listen, this isn't working. We need to figure something else out. This is what's messing me up. This is why we're not getting open reads. This is why we're not doing, you know what I'm saying? I need him to be a guy that's going in the film room and talking to his offensive coordinator and saying, this is what we need to change. This is what, we can do. And I don't believe he's doing that. And there are definite, some of those interceptions are definitely on him. Don't get me wrong.
So y'all got a Kellen Moore part 2. Is that what you're telling me?
I wouldn't even say Kellen. I don't even think Kellen Moore was this bad, if I'm being 100% honest. It's hard to say from this, area, because I didn't
Nick Sirianni said this his offense. It's his offense.
It is.
And he's saying it's me. So are we blaming Brian Johnson, or are we blaming Nick Sirianni? Because Nick Sirianni jumped out there and said, this is my team, my offense.
Personally, I think that's what he's supposed to do. I mean, as a head coach, I think that's what because he's done that with Sean Desai.
So is he protecting his guys?
I think that's what he's doing, and I think he's done it. He's done it with everybody. He's done it with Sean Desai. When Sean Desai was getting all that heat, he was saying that, the principles are his. The principles of that defense are his. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. He puts it on himself, saying he has to coach better, that him and the offensive coordinator need to coach better. And I think he's doing the same thing with Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson is getting a whole bunch of, heat right now, and deservedly so. And Sirianni saying, all right, no, it's me, it's my offense. I'm messing up. I just think that that's what he does. But Nick Sirianni is not devoid of any fault. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff doesn't take away. Jalen Hurts still has fault just because I think Brian Johnson is doing a poor job. Nick Sirianni still has fault just because I think, you know what I'm saying? Like, these people still have fault. It's just, I think that if you can start with Brian Johnson, you can make a big impact. I truly do believe that. If you can figure out, and it doesn't mean he has to stop calling plays and all this, but let's open up that playbook a little bit. We've seen some really good offensive games from this team. Not too long ago, we were top 5 in scoring per game. I want to see where that team, and it was against good teams. It wasn't against terrible teams. The Chiefs had the number 1 defense, I believe, at the time. We were going against good teams. We put up good points against you guys. We put up good numbers. Now it's just everything's, being exposed. Like, our offense just can't move the ball at all on some drives. And on some drives,
I want to ask you this question, though. The Sports Junkie shows this question. He says, why is it respectfully never Jalen Hurts' fault when last year, I'm just asking these questions because last year everybody was killing Dak last year on them interceptions. Dak's a turnover guy. Dak this, that, and we knew Dak was not a turnover guy. If you look at his whole career, he was not a turnover guy. This was one year where it was out of the ordinary, but everybody was, has he regressed? Interception this, interception that. Now we have a situation where this is Jalen Hurts' first year of double-digit interceptions. He hasn't had it the other 2 years he started. He has 12 interceptions right now. I think 6 lost fumbles. And so how come we can't talk about the interception thing with Jalen like we were talking about?
Oh, we can.
That's the question I want to ask, because 19 touchdowns to 12 interceptions is not good.
Yeah, I can't speak for everybody, but we could talk about it. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, like I said, a lot of those a good amount of those interceptions, like a good 50-60% of the turnovers are definitely his fault. But at the end of the day, I still go back to this offense. If you're gonna have guys glued to your receivers because they know exactly what you're gonna do, what is he really going to do? You know, I mean, at the end of the day, he has to tuck it and run. He has to take the sack. I mean, there's a lot of different things in the moment he can do better. Don't get me wrong. And that play against Julian Love, a better ball, probably scores. Maybe don't make that throw. I don't know what you do. They admitted that they played for a flag, which is probably the dumbest stuff I've ever heard. I truly do put it on the offensive coordinator and the coaching staff right now. Jalen Hurts has blame, and don't get me wrong, he definitely has blame. But just like you guys were saying last year, your offensive coordinator wasn't putting him in good positions. And, I talk junk. That's why I wasn't letting y'all breathe with that response. So y'all cannot let me breathe with that response. I'm fully ready for that.
I can't let you breathe now because you was harping on it all last year, Joe, and all in the offseason. You was killing me with Dak Prescott's interceptions, Dak interceptions. So, yeah, I got to give you the blues, dog. And he might not be leading the league in interceptions, but he's in the tops in leading the interceptions. And to me, I feel like there is a little bit of regression. I feel like some defenses have kind of caught up to the play calling and the situations, and they're saying, hey, we're not going to really kind of let you run. We want to see Jalen Hurts beat us. And no doubt he has come back in games, but they've been kind of big plays. A lot of the plays that y'all have are been big explosive plays when y'all get in the game. Hasn't been more, in my opinion, you can correct me if I'm wrong, more methodically taking it down the field and scoring, except I would say that damn Buffalo game that was in the overtime. That was a big drive, but it just seems like it's been a lot more over the top. Seems like the offense wants to always go for the big play, and if that big play is shut down, then there's struggle in that offense, Jalen Hurts and the offense as a whole, just from my perspective.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think that we are pressing. I think that, and again, I want to reiterate this another time because these were good teams. These were good teams that we were playing, and I felt like we were pressing. I felt like we wanted to get back on track in the biggest ways of possible. And even this, Nick Sirianni said this, and I don't think a lot of people really listen to this part of it as much as they listen to the playing for the flag part. But Nick Sirianni said, you look at the other side and they were able to get a big play. So we thought we could do it on our side. Like, that's not how you coach. You know what I'm saying? You coach your offense. You're not looking at the other offense and saying, whatever they can do, we can do better. So yes, Jalen Hurts deserves all the criticism he's getting. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, some people go a little too far with stuff, but, Jalen Hurts deserves the criticism he's getting. This defensive line deserves the criticism that they're getting because they're not playing up to the potential that they should. A lot of people deserve this criticism, but me, I feel like I'm focusing my criticism on this offensive coordinator and this offensive coaching staff because they aren't doing the job that they need to with an offense that was one of the best last year. So I need to see that. So there's just a lot of stuff that is just like, what I don't know.
How did you feel about Sirianni, what he said about that last pass on that when we we were looking to get the
defense flag?
Yeah,
I think that's idiotic. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I think that this team wants to be too Joe cool. You know what I'm saying? They want to be too relaxed, too like, oh, no, it's not a big deal. Oh, we got answers for everything. Oh, no, that's my fault. Oh, no, we good. It's just like, bro, sometimes you got to just shut up. Just, hey, we messed up.
Mm-hmm.
We screwed up. We played terrible. Darius Slay had they talked to him in the locker room after practice today. And I think that he really broke it down the best. I mean, they just weren't good. We're not playing good football. We're not who we need to be. So at the end of the day, you deserve every single bit of this criticism. And until you play better,
go and get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's
the nature of the business. See, here's the thing. I like listening to Slay because I think he is a stand-up guy. I don't think he runs away from criticism. But, and I've said this, we had a little incident with fans posting addresses and phone numbers, which is totally disrespectful from the Cowboys side after that Buffalo game, totally disrespectful. And it makes it bad on content creators, I feel, and fans alike, because now they probably don't already have trust for us, But then when you see something like that, then anything we kind of say, they don't trust us. So fans got to be better. But also I feel like players got to be able to deal with this criticism, because if you're on Twitter, okay, this is what I say. If you're a player and you're on Twitter a lot, then don't be getting mad when you're hearing people talk trash to you. Don't get mad when people are criticizing you. Don't get mad when somebody says you suck. Don't get mad, because you don't have to have Twitter. You don't have to be on it. There was a whole bunch of years before when people weren't on it. So players get mad when people criticize them on Twitter, but you don't think that's not going to happen on the account? People are going to say stuff about you. People are going to talk. And if you don't want to hear that noise, then you should get off Twitter. And that's why I just be feeling about the players. Like, if you don't want to hear that, don't be on Twitter, because you're going to continuously hear that noise. And I will also say that us as content creators now, Joe, we have power. You feel me? We have power. So we, just like y'all I feel like maybe y'all need to use y'all's influence, like Brunson has been going ham. Use y'all's influence to continue to see if changes can make. Because I'm not sitting there saying we are making the changes, but we are putting the conversation out there for people to listen to. Before, we could never do that. Before, we could never put our conversation out there. So when we're putting our conversation out there, hey, maybe you need to look at this. Maybe you need to look at that. Coaches can say what you want, but y'all are looking at Twitter. Y'all are watching these groups. Y'all are watching Twitter. And when it's a whole bunch of factions saying one thing, then they're starting to look at it a little bit more. So I appreciate the power that we are actually possessing to actually have them listen to us, because our voice actually does matter. Shout out to Boss Cowboys, because he always says our voice matter. It really does. So I think maybe y'all need to be getting over in that Philly media, dog, and keep on expressing y'all's voice out there, because changes need to be made out there in Philly. And if y'all don't, just like I said with us, if we don't make these changes on this defense and get it together, we're going to be an early exit. And if y'all don't get them changes together quickly, y'all going to be an early exit, dog. And I hate that.
I feel like it's a two-way street, though. With y'all, with Dallas, and you guys have went through the whole, Jason Garrett for years upon years, and felt like you guys weren't being listened to. With Philadelphia, I feel like our front office sometimes listens to us a little bit too much, if I'm being 100% honest with you. And I agree with you. I agree that people should be able to put their voice out there and put their opinion out there and do it respectfully, right? Do it, sometimes respectfully is a bigger word than people think it is. It doesn't mean you have to say, sir. I think that you could talk the talk. Just some people go way too far. I didn't even know about the whole dropping addresses and stuff like that. That's just insane. Like, it's not never that serious. But with Eagles, I think sometimes they listen a little bit too much. I think that, sometimes it does work out for us, but it comes down to the Eagles have a leadership committee. I don't know how many other teams have this, but the Eagles have a leadership committee, of veteran players that are basically the voice of the locker room, right? Those people need to be listened to. I can't imagine that this offensive line is saying we need to stop running the ball so much. You know what I'm saying? I can't imagine that that's happening. So I think that, yes, Eagles fans need to keep talking. They talk, but our media, to be 100% honest, kind of sucks right now. And it's kind of disheartening how bad our media is, because they allow the same people in there. And shout out to y'all media. I'm friends with a lot of the people that work for the Cowboys, which is just weird. You know what I'm saying? We've had like humans on here. We've had a bunch of different guys, that we've talked to and stuff. So it's like, I think that we don't have enough fans of our team as media. That's what really kills me. So I'm hoping that they can figure it out. I'm hoping that the Eagles start listening to the right people. But I don't know if they are, if I'm being 100%. I don't know if they are. I don't know what the fix is, but I'm hoping that they figure it out. And you got some bad teams to figure it out against. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
What? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes.
No. Go ahead.
Last thing I want to say, I want to bring up where we sit right now. So, and shout out to everybody in the chat. We've had over 150 people in the chat like the whole time. So shout out to all of y'all. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe wherever you are. But I want to talk about the playoff, where we are right now. And we'll maybe go a little bit deeper into this next week when it gets a little bit clearer as well. But as of right now, you guys sit as the number 2 seed. You guys will go against the number 7 seed, which if I could pull it up real quick, I don't know if you know off the top of your head.
I don't know if it's like Tampa Bay or
we would play Tampa.
Okay.
So I know we played Tampa, but hold on, I have yours. I promise I know what it is.
Would it be the Saints or Green Bay?
I think it's Green Bay.
Yeah, it might be Green Bay, and that's my guy say. Rams.
Rams. Okay.
Rams.
Yep.
Rams.
So right now it says Vikings.
Sure, I think it might be the Rams because that's what everybody was talking about. The Rams. That's not people don't want to play them again. But
because you would be at the Rams are looking pretty high.
Yeah. It says Revel. They know it. He says Tyrone says Rams.
I think it's
Revel
Vikings.
says Vikings. Okay, if it's
so
Vikings,
the Vikings would be number 7 right now because they're 7-7. The Rams with that win last night, they're at 8-7. So they would technically obviously that could change. That's why I said next week we'll go a little bit more in depth on that. But so
I'd rather the Vikings than the damn Rams.
Just about to say, so as it stands right now, the Cowboys would be going against the Vikings. Obviously, that would be in Dallas, and the Eagles would go against Tampa Bay, and that would be in Tampa.
Ooh,
so I wouldn't be mad about that. I live in Tampa.
Yeah. Baker's hot right now. Right now.
He was hot when he was undefeated when he went against us the first time. I think that we can beat them.
I don't trust no damn Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I think we can beat them. But I want to know: do you think that would be the best road for you? Because you would basically go against the Vikings, and then if you win that game, you would go against the lowest seed that won. So it might be the Rams, it might be the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm definitely with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad at that. I definitely, you want that one. I think we need to at least get one home game, and that's where I want us to stay because I feel like giving us one home game. Because we're not going to get a home field advantage throughout the playoffs, but giving us that one home game, we need that. I think we need that because we're undefeated at home. I think we can really get electric at home, have a big victory that could carry us to the next game, especially if we have to go on the road against y'all. But I like that road. I definitely like that road. Playing the Vikings, we kind of have their number. I feel like, we would not beat them handily, but I definitely feel like we would beat up on them. And then if we had to go against y'all, I'm definitely welcome that because I like how we played you guys in the first matchup. That was a key game to me, how we played against y'all in Philly. We had a very good performance. Obviously, we didn't like the outcome of it, but we should have won that game. I'm going to still stand on that. In my opinion, we had opportunities to win it, and we kind of dropped the ball at that. So, yeah, I definitely have no problem playing Minnesota at home and going and playing you guys again because I definitely would love to eliminate y'all out the playoffs and us being live. Oh, that would be sweet. And I hope we get them Niners. I hope we get them Niners at that.
And that would be in Dallas. If you guys were to be the number 2 seed, it would be Philly going to you.
Well, aren't y'all still ahead of us because the tiebreaker? I think
technically right now we're not. If we win out, we would be.
That's
but
what
right
I'm saying.
Now we are not.
If we both win out, you guys are going to get the tiebreaker because of the strength of schedule. But like I said, I'm still circling that Arizona game. Y'all keep on talking them Giants, y'all. Y'all keep talking them Giants. No, I'm talking them Cardinals, y'all. Y'all remember this? Y'all remember this video? Y'all remember this conversation? Because I feel like Joe was talking about them Cardinals early, and I'm telling you, I have a good feeling about that Cardinals game, dog.
We're gonna blow them out. This is the turnaround right here.
I don't believe
we're getting people healthy and by playoffs. That's what all I gotta say. We're both in the playoffs, so as long as we do what we got to do once we get there, I'm cool with whatever happens. I mean, if we go against Tampa Bay and we're the 5th seed, I ain't mad at that. I ain't mad at that at all. The only thing that worries me is we would have to go to either you or San Fran, and that would be kind of worrisome. I'm not gonna lie, that would be kind of nerdy. That would be scary. That would be scary, especially in the playoffs. But we'll see what happens, man. I want to leave everybody with a question, and I'll ask you this as well, and you guys let us know in the comments, after the live show and everything or during right now. What do you think is more possible out of the 3 things to happen, okay? San Fran holds number 1 seed, then they just win out. Dallas Cowboys or the Eagles end up taking the number 1 seed from San Francisco because they would need to lose a game, and then it would just come down to either of us, right? Or the Detroit Lions somehow sneaking up and going into that number 1 seed. Which of those 3 you think is most probable?
San Francisco keeping that number 1 seed. I think that's just the most probable. I think they're the best team right now. I mean, let's just keep it honest. They smashed both of us. They look like they're healthy again. They look like they're hitting all cylinders right now. So I think San Francisco is going to stay that number one seed, and everybody who wants to go to the Super Bowl has going to have to go through that realm right there. Which, you know what, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I want San Francisco again. I'm tired of them. They are a damn good team, but I still feel like we can beat them. And I want that challenge again. And I feel like Dallas should not run away from that challenge. You got to eventually slay the head of this dragon. And I've been talking about dragons. We got to eventually slay the head of this dragon, man. And we can't let them have our numbers. So yes, I know a lot of people. Oh, I want to go to San Francisco. No, I want them. If we had it where we had a home game and we played Minnesota, and then we had to go against y'all, and then we had to go against San Francisco, we're going to have to slay dragons. You're going to have to slay the dragon of you can't win on the road, and you're going to have to slay the dragon of beating them Niners. So you can't run away from this, and I just feel like it would just be more poetry for you to go through that kind of gauntlet, and then you get to the Super Bowl that way, because then nobody got nothing to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I read it wrong. So the 49ers would have to lose 2 games. But
Yeah,
the
they ain't
schedule
losing
that
2
they
games.
have,
Who they have?
they got the Ravens today, or
Ooh.
Monday, excuse me. That's not going to be an easy, hopefully it's not an easy game for them. That would scare the hell out of me. I go live if they go out there and blow them out.
But even if they lose to the Ravens, though, they only got 3 losses. So even if they lose to the Ravens, that's not hurting them.
Indictment. Yeah, they can still have that number
They'll
1
still
seed,
be
but they
okay.
also have Washington, which they should pummel, but they have the Rams at the end of the year. So
now that's now we might be looking at that because the Rams might still need to be playing their guys to get a higher seeding or a better position. So the Rams probably might not be playing resting starters. That could be a very big time game. So yes, let's go ahead and circle that Rams game. In my opinion, just to watch and see how it is. I still feel like they're going to win the number 1 seed. In my opinion, I just feel like they still are. But you know, I'm not running away from me for Dallas going to San Francisco and beating them. With last year, they barely beat us. You know, we were down players. We had Kellen Moore. I just feel like after a while, y'all should know better if you go against San Francisco in this game. Don't go in there playing. Go all out. You got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose because everybody's going to say you choke anyway. So go out there and play all out. You feel me? Y'all go into these playoffs with nothing to lose because everybody says you choke. Everybody says wait till you get to the playoffs. They're going to choke as usual. So when you get to them damn playoffs, don't let no stone unturned offensively, defensively, mentally, because once again, this is a year where it's for the taking. I know San Francisco is good, but it's still for the taking. Let's do it, Dallas. Let's go.
Yeah, and it will be interesting. So I will be watching on Christmas Day to see if the Ravens can beat San Fran. Obviously, the Eagles have to do their job, but you know, if they beat San Fran, it gets a little bit interesting in the NFC because they definitely still got to play those last 2 games. But I would love to know what everybody thinks. Again, we appreciate everybody in here, man. Had over $160 like the whole time, so be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe wherever you are. And I've seen a lot of people saying, back. People were like, James was hiding, Joe was hiding, James was. No, we were both mad. We were both mad.
We were both mad,
and we were all both on our channels. So
right, we were on our channels going live, and we already talked about this. It wasn't nobody hiding from his end, wasn't nobody hiding from my end. We also have life. Okay, we have life, we have jobs, we have all those things that go on too. So it was never that, and we back and better than as ever. And once again, you know, I'm gonna tell everybody, please check us out when it's huge what Joe told y'all at the beginning, us both being media credentialed to be able to go to the Senior Bowl this year. I am dumb excited. I am dumb excited because I went a couple years ago, but I wasn't credentialed. And you know, Joe been killing out in them streets, being credentialed, going to the draft, going to combine, things of that nature. So I think it's really, make sure y'all really support both sides because we're going to be out there on the grind. All them days out there on the grind, getting y'all good interviews, getting you perspectives from the Philadelphia side, from the Cowboys side. We'll have dual shows. We'll be able to talk about what we've been seeing, what people we would like to draft from our teams. So it's going to be huge, y'all. So please, when that happens, it's going to be the end of January when that Senior Bowl pops. Please support us like no other because we're going to give you some fire shows that week.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm really, I've never been. You obviously
Shout out,
like
I didn't mean to cut you off, but shout out to
I
Brother Spock. He says you guys have great chemistry. You ain't lying.
appreciate that. Appreciate that. Yeah. No, you said it. You've been there before, so I'm going to probably be leaning on you to know where to go and how
Yeah,
everything's
for
going to
sure.
work out. But I do got some people out there, some other reporters that. So we're definitely going to get a lot of content. So I'm very, very excited. But other than that, y'all know what it is, man. I appreciate y'all. You guys have an amazing holiday season. You guys have whatever you celebrate, however you celebrate it, make sure it's with people you love, people you appreciate, and I'm sure me and James are going to be doing the same. You got anything you want to say to these beautiful people before we get out of here?
No, just shout out to all the crowd. Like I said, we were holding a lot, really good crowd today. Really appreciate for y'all jumping back in. And like I said, continue to support. Big playoffs getting ready to come up. Support when we go down to that Senior Bowl. That is going to be fire. I'm really pumping that up because that's going to be fire. And we just continue to try to do great things for ourselves and the channel. So we really appreciate y'all support like no other. And let's go Cowboys and let's not go Eagles.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Y'all know what it is. But other than that, y'all know what it is, man. I am Joe. That is James, and we are the credentialed best of enemies. Peace.
We're brothers. We're happy